Welcome to Spouses Bicker Podcast. The Drosscast podcast, where this is the interview of Bob. Say hello to the lovely listeners, Bob.
Hello.
So, Bob, it's your interview today. How do you feel?
Slightly nervous. I'm getting ready for a job interview.
I know, you're pacing. You're like pacing and looking up answers to questions that I don't even know you needed to look up answers to. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm terrible at making up decisions and
It's
answers.
your life. I'm asking you questions about you. Why are you so nervous about that?
We'll find out if I know my life.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, usually how I started the last two off is I kind of talked about how we knew each other. Mm-hmm. So, how do we know each other, Bob?
Well, you and I met in, I don't even know what year it was, 2012 at Ralph Lauren, where we both worked.
Yes, we were. We were both sales associates, although you were like a sales/stock associate, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, kind of a do everything there.
Right. And how long did you work there before I started?
Before you started, I want to say about 3 years.
So you were there 3 years before I even started.
Yeah.
And actually, the reason I got the job was because
Kat.
Yeah, Kat worked at Polo first. That was her first job, and then I just oddly decided to go with her to pick up her schedule, and then on the spot, the manager there was like, "Oh, Kat, this is your friend. Does she want a job?" Sure. And then I pretty much had an interview immediately, and then was offered the job 2 hours later after I did the whole. You had to take a test.
Yeah, those things sucked. I mean, they were pretty easy once you knew what you had to do, but yeah, I still think that's kind of funny how you met Akko before he met Kat,
right?
And then I met Kat before I met you.
Yeah.
And yeah, look at that.
That is funny.
Yeah,
I guess I've never connected the pieces like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty funny.
So yeah, me and Kat, obviously, I've been friends for a really long time, and we play a big part in each other's lives, and it shows because it obviously looks like Way to go. So, where was I? You really threw me off. Oh, I guess you had a crush on me first.
Yep.
You thought I was a cool cat.
So to speak. Yeah.
And
yeah.
You wanted to tap dad ass.
I did. Yes. You came in, squeezed into some kid's jeans, and I couldn't keep my eyes off your ass.
When he says that, I could fit into the kid sizes at Ralph Lauren, so to save money, I'd often buy the kids' clothes, and so, yeah, that included kids' pants.
Yeah, it was smart.
Which is odd, because I'm 5'9", which is not the size of a child, so I don't know what happened there, but it worked.
Well, even the manager who hired you, who's probably about the same height as you, he wears kids' jeans. And kids' clothes. He's a tiny guy. Yeah, he's a small guy. Smaller frame.
Well, so that was my first job, but that was not your first job, Ralph Lauren. Where did you work before then?
Before that, I just worked at Target briefly. I was only a half a year. Yeah, then I got fired because I was 16, first job, and I was in the stock room at Target, and as much fun as that was, it's just dark and depressing back there just to work, and not to mention that it was summer vacation when I started the job, so it's bright, sunny, 80 plus degrees every day, and I'm stuck in a dark, cold back room.
And you're not from the city, so the Target you worked at was up north, right?
Yes.
That was your first job?
Yep. That was my first job.
It was by your hometown.
Yes.
Because unlike me, Akko, and Kat, you are not from here. Like, me and Kat grew up in
No.
the same town. Akka was one town over. You were
I was about
3 hours away.
Yeah.
So...
Like 15 towns up or something. Or 20 plus. I don't know how many towns are in between. Where you guys grew up and where I did. But, yeah, probably a lot. It's probably how many counties are between.
So tell me about growing up there.
I mean, when I was a kid, I thought it was awesome. I mean, it was very small. So in my graduating class, we only had like 29 kids. And in the school, our school between 7th and 12th grade probably held about this less people than you and Kat had in your class.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so...
We had classes of like 30 to 35.
Yeah, and... Wait, what?
Like in a classroom?
Yeah. Well, I meant like your guys' graduating class was like 400, 300, 400.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what we had in our school.
Oh, in your entire school? I think maybe just your
school.
graduating class.
No.
Oh.
Well, that too, I guess.
That's
but
what I was
yeah,
thinking.
so our entire school was like your graduating class size.
Right.
Like where we had about 300 some kids in there. So, I mean, it made it easy. I mean, 300 sounds like a large number, not in that context, but it was very easy to kind of know everyone and like know about them and stuff like that. And for the most part, everyone was like friendly with each other. We didn't have many bullying issues. I mean, of course, like every school, there's those couple assholes who think they're big and tough and try stuff, but everyone else for the most part got along.
So how would you say your high school experience was overall?
Good.
Fine?
Yeah. I mean, I was just like every other kid where I just hated going to school but loved going there to hang out with friends and whatnot. And that was basically the only reason I liked going.
Because I guess in your guys' school, with it being so small, you didn't really have necessarily cliques, did you? Or at least not really diverse ones or big ones.
No. I mean... We would often refer to certain people as being a part of a certain type of group where we had like the jocks who hung out with each other, and it was mostly like lunchroom stuff where all the jocks hung out at this table. But I mean, some of the other people who weren't really into sports, but because we're all still good friends, it wasn't like they're just segregated and then at another table like outcasts or any other type nerds sit. Kind of all sat together, but of course the jocks were all at the same table. Weren't too dispersed.
Right. And you were not a jock. Although, which is surprising, because most people would have dubbed you as one.
I get that a lot. I mean, right now I haven't worked out in a while, so I need to get that back, but for the most part, a lot of people are constantly either asking me if I've been in the military or if I've played football or anything like that.
Well, that speaks to me as well, because when I first met you, I thought you were a Marine.
Yeah.
Because you had the super short haircut, and you were like at your peak and prime for muscle development, so you were swole.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I thought you were a scary Marine when I first met you.
Yeah, quite the opposite.
Right. Not even close.
Not even close. Like
silly me.
Yeah. I'm like more of a like I don't know, what would you say? Like almost a drag queen who dresses up in like a seaman uniform or something like that.
Oh my
That's
God.
what I'd be more like. I'd be closer to that than I'd be closer to an actual military person.
Oh God.
Very effeminate. And yeah.
What are you saying? That there can't be gay in the Marines?
No, there absolutely can be. I'm saying no, the drag queen. Like someone who's very like embellished and very like So one of them like dressing in a uniform, I'm closer to that than I am to the normal military type.
So what would you say? You're pretty athletic. I mean, if you get selected on a pickup team, you can hold your own pretty well.
For the most part. I mean, if it's soccer, no way. Because I'm, like, my feet don't work very well.
I thought you did fine when we did that pickup game.
No, God forbid someone passes it and I'm on the left side of the goal trying to score a goal with my left foot. I will miss 100% of the time with that foot. Or else I'll just shank it.
But I guess what I'm going with this is I'm trying to lead into why you were never in sports.
I don't know, actually. I mean, I guess I didn't have too much interest in it. I was just in sports like basically almost every kid in elementary school. And then moved up to, and that was, I mean, semi-organized sports, but it wasn't anything too, like, I don't know what the word is, too crazy of a schedule to, like, you're not, like, they have a crazier schedule with, like, their practices and their conditioning and, like, all these events they have to do.
It's like house versus travel.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that was exactly off-putting, but because our school was preschool through 6th grade, and then after that you move to the high school, and you're there from 7th grade till you graduate.
Right.
And so after I moved to the new school, like, I wasn't too much into sports. I think the last sport I played was basketball, and I left that in the 5th grade. So, of course, 6th grade, my last year in that school, I didn't play sports. So when I get to 7th grade, I'm in a whole new school. It's very intimidating, even though it's still small and we know a lot of people. Still intimidating trying to figure out your way, and I just wasn't even thinking about sports at all. I was just trying to find out where my next class was, basically, and figure out our schedule, because we seriously went from in, like, elementary school, we were in one classroom. That is it for every subject. And then when we got up to 7th grade, now we have 7 different classrooms. So I'm trying to, like, scope out where everything is and that, and I didn't even have my mind on anything else, really.
But you weren't allowed to play sports, is what I'm getting at.
Well, that too.
Like, you were not, the doctor did not ever clear you to play a contact sport, ever.
No, they didn't really clear me. But I didn't find that out until, I think it was 9th grade, that I was trying to go out for football, 9th or 10th, and had to go get a physical done, but because of previous, like, car accidents and injuries, they said, you've had too many concussions in your life, we can't, like, clear you to play this contact sport and stuff like that, and they just didn't feel comfortable, so I didn't. I went through, like, the only thing I went through was, like, the summer practices, and after that, it was right when the season was about to start is when I got the news that they're like, yeah, we're not clearing you. And I was like, okay. I wasn't heartbroken over it because...
Well, right. But I don't know how many people can say in the 9th grade they've had too much brain injury that they're not allowed to play any contact sports.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't feel like I had too many, like, brain injuries. Like, I've had a couple concussions just from car accidents, but then there was the thing in 3rd grade where I was having issues with seizures. Not like... Yeah.
No big deal. No, I just had enough brain trauma to have seizures.
It wasn't like the seizures... When you think of seizures, you think of people, like, their eyes rolling back and then, like, shaking on the ground.
No,
mine was just, I would just be sitting there and, like, stare off into space and you can't get my attention. And then I would come back and didn't know I was doing that.
Right.
So, it wasn't anything too crazy, but it was enough for them not to clear me, apparently.
So, what was your first major car accident that put you over the top?
It was in August of 1996. It was...
So how old were you?
That I was 7. We were driving down this dirt road going to my aunt's house, and it was kind of a scary road. There's, like, a bunch of hills and quick turns on it and whatnot. And on the sides of the road, it was just steep, like hills and whatever. And like, not hills, ditches.
Right.
And
no guardrails, though.
No. It's out in the country, dirt roads, so nothing like that out there. And it was, my mom was driving, window was down. She was a smoker, so she always had the window down. And like a bee or a wasp or some weird bug flew in and landed on her lap, and she kind of started freaking out about it. So I took my seatbelt off because I was going to lean over, try grab it, and like throw it out the window again. And by that time, she didn't see the turn, and we went off the road down into one of the ditches. And at the bottom of this like ravine type, it wasn't like a big ravine, but there was a huge boulder at the bottom of it. So the car just smacked nose first into that, and I just didn't have my seatbelt on, so I flew forward and smashed my face into the dashboard.
Right.
So that was my first concussion, and like busted my eye open. I needed stitches around my eye. Broke my orbital bone.
I was gonna say, you broke bones in your face, because still to this day, if you have a full smile on, you're droopy on one side.
Yeah, it's a little crooked.
Yeah, crooked smile.
It's noticeable.
Not that it like you look like you
deranged.
Yeah, like a mental illness or anything like that. But yeah, it's and it's only noticeable when you are full on smile laughing.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely because I don't know if it's because of the broken bone or just how my face hit, because it's when I smile, I think my chin moves over to one side. Yeah, my jaw.
And I think that's from probably smacking your face and breaking all those bones in your cheek and area. And
yeah, probably.
Whatnot.
Yep.
Because it's on that side that you said you hit it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was just the first one.
Just the first one. But that was the worst one.
Worst one.
Because the second one was a head-on collision. Had my seat, and it was on the same road, like almost in the exact same spot. Like it was, because the spot where we went off the road was on the hill part. There's like 2 big dips in the road, and then after those dips, like that's where we went in, like during the dips, and then after the dip it goes uphill and makes it like turn off to like the right or something. But so after we hit that part and we're coming up, we get to the very top of that little hill, and there's a car in our lane, and just head-on collision. And my cousin was in the backseat.
How old were you?
That I was 9. I just turned 9. Okay. It was only 2 years later. Had my cousin in the back seat. She hit her head on the back of the driver's seat. She got a concussion. I was in the front passenger seat. I had my seatbelt on, and it broke my right collarbone. I believe, I don't know if it was that accident or the first one. I think one of them, my mom got a collapsed lung from it. The young girl in the other car had to go through like 6 hours of surgery for her injuries. My brother, I got out of the car after it, and my mom said check on my brother. He was in the seat right behind me. I opened the door, and he still had a seatbelt on, but he like fell out, and he was just, there's blood all over his face, and he was just unconscious there. So I thought he was dead. I don't know what he hit his head on, because there was a bicycle in the back seat, so I don't know if like he hit it on that or if he hit it on the window, where he hit it, but he, big gash, bleeding all over the place, unconscious. We all went to the hospital to get checked out, and he needed to be, my aunt overheard like the doctors and nurses in with him saying we're losing him, and they airlifted him to Duluth. I could be in any state.
I don't think so. It's fine.
Whatever. So airlifted him to a better hospital, not in a Hodong town.
Right.
And he survived. He's still here.
Still alive.
He's still kicking. Yep. So that was the second one. The third one was just like a slight. We got rear-ended while at a stop. And no injuries out of any of me, my brother, or my mom. And the fourth one was just...
Is that the one where your mom... No, is that the fourth one that your mom hurt her arm?
Got the gash on the arm? Yeah, that was the fourth one. That was on a Father's Day, too. We were on our way back from my grandma's cabin, and we were stopped trying to take a left. And we had a few cars coming, like oncoming, so I was waiting for them. Right when they passed, I luckily just let my foot off the brake, and a guy slammed into the back of my car going like 70, and I believe he was also intoxicated too. But yeah, it sent my car spinning across the oncoming lane, across the street into an old shutdown gas station. And I basically had to, luckily right across the street from that one was a gas station that was still up and running. And so I had to run over there and like call 911 because I didn't have a cell phone at this point. I had just turned 16 at that point, just got my license. This was my first car, and it got smashed 17 days after I got my license.
You didn't have shoes on though, right?
No.
Because that was a part of it, there was a ton of broken glass, and you're running back and forth to your mom in the car, and
Yeah, so I cut my feet on all the broken glass. That was from my rear windshield. Right. So yeah, I cut my feet on that. I felt bad because when I went into the gas station to use their phone, I had to apologize to them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm bleeding all over your mat up here.
I'm so sorry. We just got into a terrible car accident. Yeah. I'm so sorry, I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah. And given how fast we were hit and everything like that, it wasn't that bad. My mom got a slice in her arm because the armrest, like on the door for the passenger seat, had like the fabric was like a leather.
Yeah.
And it had a split in it, so her arm slid across that, and it slid her arm open.
Right.
And it wasn't too bad. It left a nasty scar, but because of how he hit us from behind, it pushed everything forward. So they actually had to use the jaws of life to get my mom out because the back passenger door got pushed.
Oh, all the way up?
Up in front of, the passenger door, so it couldn't open. So it was kind of, that was kind of fun because that was the first time I ever seen the only time I've ever seen the jaws of life. Yeah.
Wasn't that a fun experience, guys?
Yeah. we were all fine.
But you are not. So out of all of that, that's still not even the end of your peril of accidents. Car related, but you have a giant scar on your neck.
Oh yeah. That was.
And it's like, and this scar is like if you can't really see it, but it is faded. It's faded, but if you're looking for it, you know it's there. And it's all the way around the front part of your neck. Like, it's not just like a little cut or a little scratch. Yeah. It's like, essentially, you had tried to hang yourself, essentially. Yeah, and
pretty much.
That's the result of it.
Yeah. And...
But you didn't. You did not try to hang yourself. No. You did not try to kill yourself. No. That was just an example of what the scar looks like.
Yeah, I'll get to that story. But yeah, I'd say the scar is probably my fault, though. It probably would have scarred, but we'll never know. Because, so the story was, I was at my grandma's cabin. My mom was out for some reason, so we were being babysat there. And I had all my cousins and my aunt and uncles out there. And we decided to go out on the boat. And my uncle wanted to bring us tubing. So we had this one tube, and he used the rope to tie it to the boat, and he tied it around the handle of the tube. So he was like, because it was one of those ropes that they use for like wakeboarding or like water skiing. And so he ended up tying it to the tube because he was like, well, if your arms get tired from holding it, you can just let go. So this is my first time tubing ever. So we go out there and like I'm holding on to it and my arms start getting tired, so I just let go of it. Right when I let go of it, for some reason, the tube flipped forward and I flew off the tube, and somehow there was enough slack where when I hit the water, the rope wrapped around my neck and I was being drug underwater.
So you flipped forward off the tube.
Flip forward off the tube.
The rope was slack, so it wrapped around your neck.
Yep.
And then they started the boat to go because they were trying to find you.
They were trying to double back to like pick me back up.
And you're underneath the tube at this point.
I'm under the water. I'm like trying to push the tube up because because they were going, the tube just kept pressing down on me, wouldn't let me push the tube up.
And how old were you at this one? Were you 9 again?
I think I was a little older. It was probably around that same time, like 10 or 11 maybe at this point.
Okay.
I want to say, but yeah, so that happened, and they just kept driving around because they couldn't find me.
Right.
Eventually, they realized, he's not coming up, and they stopped the boat. And at that point, of course, the rope loosened, and I was able to get it off from around my neck and get up. And I don't know how long I was under the water. It felt like eternity, but it was probably only like 15, 20 seconds, but it seemed so long. And I was just like staring
they're looking
into
for you. It was probably a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, because I was like staring into like the disgusting brown water and just like, this is the last thing I see before I die.
Right.
And that's what I thought. But yeah, so I came up, so I just had the rope burn on my neck, and it could have healed, maybe not scarred, but I'm like you. Well, my younger self was like you right now, is where when it's scabbed over, I would take it and I'd peel this whole scab off. And I did that twice. I did that twice, and after the second time, the scab never came back, but then I got this nasty scar, which has now faded because it's been 18 years since that happened.
So, how many bones have you broken?
Not too many, actually. There's...
Your collarbone twice.
My right collarbone twice. I broke a couple knuckles in my... Man, was it... I think it was my right hand. Right hand? No, maybe it was my... I don't even remember.
You punched a wall. No. You punched a door?
No, it was... So my knuckles was... My brother was... He's a hothead, and I was making fun of him, and he, like, jumped on me, and he started, like, I don't know, giving me the forearm slap across the back, like, acting like he was punching me, and I went to go punch him, so I believe it was my left hand. Went to go punch him, and I missed, and I hit a pole.
Oh, that's
And then right after that, my hand looked like there was a golf ball sitting on the top of my hand. And
disgusting.
I couldn't bend my fingers for, like, a couple weeks. And so I broke a couple knuckles there. Broke my right collarbone twice. The first time was I was thrown into a door.
By your cousin.
By my cousin. So I basically speared the edge of the door.
Right.
Broke my collarbone. The second was that car accident in 98. 96 was the facial bones.
Yeah.
And I think that might be it, actually. I haven't broken too many bones, but that was pretty much it.
I don't know, I feel like more than usual. More than what I would assume is typical.
Sure. Maybe for someone, like, because I haven't broken a bone in, like, 13 years, so at the age of 16, maybe higher than average of breaking bones.
So, you lived up north. Yeah. And you moved you moved around a lot, right? Not necessarily like long distances, but within your tiny up north community, you guys could not sit in a house very long.
I do not know why. I think because the first, like right when we moved up there, we moved to the city that my parents currently live. And while I was younger, we lived in 2 different houses in that city. And I think it was just because they were renting both times. It wasn't, they didn't buy it or anything like that. So I think they were renting, and they ended up finding a house a couple cities over that they bought. And that was where I spent a large portion of my childhood, was in that house. I think we were in that house maybe like 10 years. And then after that, moved again out into the country, out near that area where I had those 2 car accidents. And after we left that spot, we moved back to the city where we originally moved to. And then I think that was our last house there before I moved down here.
But you never changed schools, though.
You just stayed in the same school. Because it was all within the same school district.
So, I mean, I'm still even really muddled at the timeline of you moving down to the cities and going to college. So what does all of that what does that look like? So you decided that you're going to move down to the cities to live with your aunt and uncle.
Yep.
And that was right after high school?
Yeah, so graduated high school in 2007. That's September or August. I started going to a community college up north, and I finished 2 semesters there. In 2008, had the summer off, and then right at the end of summer, right as school is about to start back up, I decided that I was moving in with my aunt and uncle because I couldn't handle being with my parents anymore, because my dad was an alcoholic, and it was just constant screaming at each other. He would always be drunk and like passing out, and my mom would just be screaming and at him and hitting him. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. So I basically messaged my aunt, my dad's sister, asked her if I could move in with them, and they were more than happy to take me in. So then I moved after 1 year of college, and I think I put college off for that 1 semester, and then I started going back online.
Right. And then at what point did you move down for college? Because you left the cities again to move.
Well, I didn't go to college.
Yeah. At that, you didn't go to college at the university, but
no,
you went. Was your cousin the one? Did your cousin attend that university though?
Yep.
So your cousin attended the Southern University. You moved with him.
Yep.
You still went to online school though.
Yes.
During what time in this timeline did you move down there? Because this is where it starts getting muddled even for me. I don't know when this all happened.
So it was right at the beginning, like right at the end of 2009, beginning of 2010. We lived there.
So how many semesters were you at?
It was only 1. We were only...
No. How many semesters into community college were you?
Oh, at that point? I think I was at 4 semesters at that point. So enough, like, where you should get your associate's degree.
4 years? No, your associate's.
No, 4 semesters, nerd.
Oh, okay. It's
4 semesters.
4
yes.
semesters. I thought I heard years. I was
no.
like, what the hell?
So that's the end of the 2 years, but then we moved a little further south, so my cousin was going off to college again, and he was going to live in an apartment down there, so I decided, hey, I'll go with you, and I left my job at Ralph Lauren. Then, after working there for a year, went with my cousin, and I still went to school online, and that was my final semester. So I finished up that May. My cousin moved back home, and while I was down there with him, I struck up conversation with one of my brother's friends from up north, and we kind of hit it off, which is terrible in my mind now, but it happened.
It sounds like you hooked up.
What? No, basically verbally. It wasn't like.
Wait, is this a guy?
No.
Oh!
This is my girlfriend. my ex-girlfriend.
I'm thinking it was like one of your brother's friends, as in like one of his guy pals. And I'm just like, wow, you sound real gay right now, Bob. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we hooked up. I was like, whoa, wait, whoa. I don't know any of this.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird too, is because, so I started talking to this girl while we were living down there, and then my cousin was moving back. It was the end of the semester. He was moving back home, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to move back up north, which was fucking stupid.
To be with the girl?
Yeah, to give that a shot.
You didn't live with her, though?
No. I still live with my parents, but then I got back up there, and it took a while for that to happen. Like, it didn't happen right away. So in between that time is when I got with another girl.
You hot dog.
Had relations with that girl. And then soon after that is when I started hanging out with the original girl that I was talking to. And then we only dated for like a few months, and I realized I was bad at relationships. And so we ended that. Not too long after that, I called up my aunt again, and I was like, can I move back? And she's like, yep. Very next day, my uncle and my cousin showed up with a moving truck and packed all my shit up, and we moved back. And then I've been down here since, and that was moved back at the beginning of 2011.
And you got your Ralph Lauren job back.
Yep,
obviously.
Like right when I moved back. I think it was probably the next day I rolled back into Ralph Lauren and saw some familiar faces. I don't think they recognized me right away, even though it's only been a year, but it took them a second. But then they realized, oh my God, it's Bobby. They're like, what are you doing here? And I was like, looking for my job back. And they went and told our general manager, and she came out, and she was freaking ecstatic that I was back. And she was like,
catch.
She was like, yeah. So she basically wanted me to start the next day. She was like, would you be willing to work tomorrow? She was like, but I need you to fill out this what the hell are they called? Application, thank you. All I had in my head was resume. I need you to fill out this application just so we have it on file, but I'll get everything going and you can start tomorrow. I was like, all right, sweet.
Did you start the next day?
I did. I started the next day, and I even remembered my old employee number, so I was able to punch in.
Well, there you go.
Still remembered everything.
But you did not continue college. So once you graduated with your associates after, how long did that take you?
2.5, 3 years, somewhere around
3 years. So after the 3 years it took you to get your associates, you stopped. And you just worked at Ralph Lauren.
Just worked at Ralph Lauren. I was there for, what was it? I think it was 2 years. I had my sales associate's job back. After that, there was an opportunity to become supervisor. So I applied for that, and of course, like, they wanted me to be in that position anyway. Like, I was told right away, because I applied for it, and I was expecting, other people apply for and have to, like, interview for it. And so it was the day of my interview for the supervisor job, and our boss, like, pulls me into the office, and she was like, okay, so we're offering you the job. And that was like the interview, and I was like, oh, sweet.
And when was that in regards to
our relationship?
Yeah.
So you and I just basically hung out for the first time that New Year's Eve, and we...
Yeah, how romantic is that, guys? Our first date was on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. He was my New Year's kiss.
Yep.
Aww.
Yeah. Aww. How adorable. But, yeah, so that was our first time we hung out. We talked after that. We ended up kind of making it official on January 3rd is when I asked you out in your parents' basement. And I guess there was still some slight confusion as to where we were at that point after that, but that was like our original kind of start date. And it was January 4th is when they offered me that position. And you were a sales associate at the time, and they frowned upon those types of relationships. So we had to keep it secret.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. I dated my boss.
Yes.
We had some, it was a quid pro quo.
There you go.
No, just kidding. There's none of that happened. I refuse to even acknowledge him at work.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was...
I was a way better employee, though.
Probably. I was more liked.
Probably.
You were a better employee.
That's what I said. Yeah, I was a better employee.
The business aspect. But I was... Like, everyone loved me. Like, even when I was gone, stories were told about me. Even when I... So, as I was supervisor, the way my job came to an end was we had our district manager come in, and he pulled me in back, and he said he wanted to talk for a while, and we had just done, like, a floor set, and I owned the floor set. I created where everything was going, like, had my team, and we did that. And then he came in, and I thought he wanted to talk about the floor set and stuff like that, make changes, whatever he wanted to do. So I get in to the office, and then he clicks a button on the phone, and he says that he has this HR person on the phone. I was like, fuck. So then they start telling me that my position basically is going to be non-existent now. They're terminating that position. There was 2 supervisor positions. They both were being like taken away, and they were going to replace it with like this sales manager position. And at that point, I was back in school taking classes. I was full-time there, working full-time, and they for some reason said because of school I wouldn't be able to make the schedule work. Like, they couldn't work around my schedule to have me full-time sales manager, even though I was just full-time supervisor, which was basically the same hours. They were weird. So they gave me the option to keep working for them as a sales associate and take the pay decrease or take a severance package. And at first I was dumb and I said I'll go down to a sales associate because I liked working for them. But then
then you talked to your significant other.
Then I talked to you, and I was like, okay, it probably is time to move on. So I called the district manager back. I said, I would like to change my mind. I'm going to take the severance, and ended up next day I had to go in, turn in my keys and everything, and I was done. And my favorite part of that whole thing is I still had friends working for Ralph Lauren, of course, and I'd talk to them and like hang out with them frequently, and they would tell me about what was going on at Ralph Lauren, where they were basically like, everyone was so upset that I was gone, and everyone like kept talking about me to the point that the manager was basically forbidding people from talking about me, saying we're moving on, we can't look back in the past.
You're such a beloved guy. What?
I was almost everyone's favorite part of going to work. They only went to work because I was there. I like to believe. I was such a joy to be around.
You were such a joy.
I played games, caused mischief with each other, even though I was in the supervisor role. Like, that's kind of terrible.
Shit. You were the biggest shit, even though you were in a...
I was.
Even though you were in a position of authority.
Yeah. And now that I look back at it, maybe I was a fool, because maybe I was trying to be the cool parent, quote unquote. Like the dad who wants to like hang out with people and like hang out with their son's friends and stuff like that. So now I kind of feel shitty about myself.
Yeah, you were kind of a shitty supervisor.
It's okay. I got the money.
Yeah.
So that's all that mattered. I got to hang out with everyone. And
well, you got your job done. Like, nobody
Yeah.
didn't do their work because of it.
No, but yeah, just like to hang out and have a laugh.
So then what was your next job?
After that, after I quit that, I had to look around, and at that point, I knew I was going into the medical field.
Right, you started going to your big boy job.
Yep.
Well, big boy schooling.
Yeah, big boy schooling. And I was looking around to try to find, like, places where I could get an in, but I was very inexperienced, and I didn't think about it much because I got a job at this one clinic, basically as, like, it was the people at the front desk who check you in, make appointments for you, stuff like that. And it was a, like, privately owned clinic, so, and they don't really hire RNs. Most of their staff are, like, medical assistants, CNAs, LPNs, stuff like that, but no RNs, and that's what I was going to school for. So I didn't have the grade in there unless I basically want to sit in a room and just answer phone calls from patients all day. That's what my job there would be. So I worked there for a couple years before I graduated with my 2-year nursing license. Then I found another job down near the cities and started my nursing career. Mm-hmm. Now I've been in that role for a year and a half now.
And that was kind of a crazy time in our lives, your life. Because what was going on, because let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you explain. What was going on all together?
It was crazy. Well, I was in that nursing role, and I was still trying to hold on to the other job too and work both jobs, and they were several miles apart, and we kind of lived not really in the middle, close to the middle of both of them, because there was still a distance between our house that we were at, your parents' house, and both jobs.
Right, we lived at my parents' house.
Yep. So we were living there. I can't remember if during that time, like, you had a crazy ass schedule too, because you were driving down to college, which was like a half hour, 40 minutes away.
Half hour? When was it ever a half hour?
I don't know how long it takes
45 minutes to an hour.
Every time I went there, it wasn't during morning or peak hours. Yeah, so I was like, could get there quick. But, so you would go to work in the morning, work, 4 to 6 hour shift, and then go to school, and then you'd have to come back from school and go back to work until like 8 o'clock whenever at night, and then go home and go to sleep and do it all over again. So we had that craziness going on. We had my 2 jobs going on, and I was kind of just getting chaotic. And then you found a new job after you graduated school.
Yep.
You left your current role, I'll say, at your job, and you moved into a different role at a different place.
Right.
And that was down in the cities.
Yep.
And my main job was down in that area too, and so it was good over half-hour drive for both of us. So it was like, yeah, it's time for us to, like, we got our big boy, big girl jobs now, our adult jobs. We're into our careers, so we got money saved up. Let's buy a house. Let's find a house closer to our jobs and start out our lives. Because we had been married for like 2 years at this point, a year or two at this point, still living with your parents.
We got married in 2016, and this was what, 2008? No.
2017, at the end of 2017. So it was a year and a half that we were married, still living with your parents. So it's like, it's time. So found a nice little starter home near both of our jobs, and yeah, moved in, and didn't take too long before we found out we were adding an extra person to our family.
I was pregnant. Why'd you say that so weird?
I just want to say it like that.
I knocked my bitch up.
That's right. That's how I talk. Yeah,
we got a puppy.
right away.
We got a puppy while we were moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then while I was pregnant, we got another puppy.
Yes. So now we have 2 dogs and a baby. One of the dogs is giant, like 100 pounds. The other one is a medium-sized dog, which is like 50-some pounds. And now we have a baby who's now learning to crawl. He's been army crawling everywhere. And we have a tiny-ass house.
Yeah, we got a
no room.
House.
Yeah.
But it's home.
Yep. And now I'm finally finishing up my schooling career in 2 days. Is the end of the semester and the end of my school career, and I'll have my bachelor's in nursing.
And then you want to find a job at a hospital, right?
Then I want to go find a job at a hospital. Yep.
Do you know what type of nursing you want to do?
No, I think what I'm going to start with is looking for like medical surgical. So people who are like have injuries who just went through surgery. Like hip replacements, knee replacements, anything like that, broken bones that are being fixed, spinal issues.
Like my ACL?
Are they recovering? Yeah.
So you want to...
Except, yeah. And I guess most people who have that type of injury and are staying in the hospital are older people or people who might be unstable at home. So you being so young and like fit...
Hell yeah.
You were able to be discharged once the anesthesia was wearing off and your vitals were kind of stabilized and everything was good and your pain was managed. You were able to go home a couple hours after your surgery and recover there.
So not people like me.
you.
Old farts that can't take care of themselves. Or fat fucks. Either old farts or fat fucks.
Pretty much.
Cool.
Pretty much. Don't quote me on that, but yes.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, so that's where I'd kind of like to get into. Just because my current job, I work at a TCU, which is people who have had those injuries come in and they're doing inpatient physical therapy.
Right.
So it's basically the same thing. So my couple semesters ago when I had to go through my last round of clinicals in a hospital, I was on a med-surg unit and I was like, this is like the same thing as what I do now. So I feel like when I go to the hospital, I kind of want to transition that way into kind of not a huge jump, like huge change, but kind of go to what I'm comfortable with now and then grow from there and maybe try different things.
So, we're under 10 minutes, and I usually
under 7
have
minutes.
My go-to questions that I've asked Akko and Kat already.
Yeah.
And you know it's coming, and this has been what has been stressing you out all day.
Yes, it has.
Which I don't understand. But what 3 fictional characters would you best describe yourself with?
Okay. And the reason I was stressing over this is because I'm an overthinker. Like, for simple questions like
and you're
this...
terrible at 50-50.
I am. I'm terrible at 50-50 too. That's an entirely different story. But with like questions like this, it seems so simple. What 3 fictional characters best describe you? I think Kat came up with hers like right before recording. She just thought of 3. She was like, okay, I think I have them. And she rolled with it. And Slay, you've put thought into yours, but you've known for a long time. I don't know how Akko came up with his, but
we all don't know how Akko came up with his.
So me, when I got heard this question, me overthinking, I have to now think about every single TV show and cartoon and comic and everything I've ever seen in my life, and try pinpoint the fictional characters that I've seen, so I can go through them and be like, yeah, I'm more like this person, not like this person, cross that out. And that's what I was doing. And the list that I came up with probably isn't a finalized list. I feel like there's probably better ones I can pick. but for the sake of this question and the sake of this podcast interview, the 3 I came up with, and I'll kind of describe them. So Michael Scott from The Office, I pick as one. And I would say he's a pretty good one, is because, like, if you look back at when I was a supervisor at Ralph Lauren, like, I was technically people's boss, but I was just like Michael Scott. I was always joking around.
Trying to be the cool parent.
Yeah, exactly. Joking around, trying to make people laugh. I was, like, joking around.
How many times did he say joking around, guys?
I was joking around. Oh, there was something else I was trying to say. I don't know. I was just like him. And my favorite jokes of all times that I do daily are That's What She Said jokes. Because they apply to almost everything. You just...
The man I married.
Yeah.
People.
So I feel like Michael Scott's a good one just because of the type of boss I was at the point, and That's What She Said jokes. Other than that, the second one I had was JD from Scrubs, and like I had written that one down, and then you, when I was asking, I was like, well, you probably have stuff already picked out for me, and you came up with JD from Scrubs, so it has to be a good one. And you can probably describe why that fits me, but I feel like it was kind of like the Michael Scott thing. It was like, I'm childish a lot at times. Right. I just like to have a fun time. I'm very, like,
happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
You're very much go with the flow.
Yeah, very jokey, everything like that. But I mean, if they're also like JD because he's the goofy guy of the group and everything like that, but also, like, when the time calls for it, I can be serious too.
Right.
At times, just like him.
And he's in the medical field.
Yes, and he's in the medical field. He portrays a doctor and I'm a nurse, but closely related. Close enough, just a little more extensive schooling for them that I don't want to go for. I'm sick of school after being in it for like 8+ years. And not being a doctor.
Yeah, who wouldn't be?
Yep. So, those are the first 2. And having issues thinking of the last one. The last one I went with because also besides those characteristics, my everyday life right now is another, like, kind of apathetic but goes with the flow type of person. Like, we'll go along if we're hanging out and people want to go off and do something, like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, even if I don't want to, I'm just like, okay, I'll go along for the ride. And so the person I picked for this is Todoroki from My Hero Academia, which is an anime.
He's a side character.
He's a side character.
But he's kind of a part of the main crew. You're kind of a part of our main crew.
I mean, he's one of the big 3, I would say, for that class.
You're not a leader by it necessarily any means.
No.
Todoroki's not necessarily a leader.
No, he doesn't try to be a leader in the show either. No. He
but
always, like...
It's pretty apathetic, single tone.
Yeah.
And then...
So that's what he is.
He always just kind of goes with whatever the class is doing.
And, yeah, exactly. And he doesn't... He's not, like, the selfish type who... Because there's... I mean, Deku will do it, too. And Bakugo's big at doing this. But it's like... Something comes up, like a villain comes out or something, they will go on their own and, like, attack them. And even though Todoroki sometimes will, if he has to, he usually sticks to the plan. Like group has a plan, he doesn't break off from the group to go attack them by himself. As far as I can remember.
Right.
I feel like he doesn't do that. Where Bakugo does whatever the fuck he wants. Deku makes it seem like he doesn't have a choice. He has to do this. He has to go after them alone. He doesn't have to, but that's what their personalities are. They go off and they do things on their own, kind of break away from what the set plan is. Where Todoroki goes along with the plan.
Except for when he didn't get his provisional license.
Yeah. True. But, whatever. That was a minor detail in the show.
And when he broke away from Endeavor to go see what Deku was doing.
Well, that's because he doesn't like Endeavor. He doesn't want to be with him. He hates his dad for...
But besides from those two giant...
Other than that, when he's with the class, he doesn't like his dad. Why would he want to stick with his dad and do what his dad says? He doesn't. Fuck his dad. His dad's an asshole.
And the other one? Can you justify that one?
What?
When he didn't get his provisional license?
To be honest, that was season 1 or what? No, that was season 2. I don't remember what season was.
That was his last season.
Last season? I don't remember. Oh wait,
That's
he did go off, and he was. Wait, during the license exam?
Yes.
Where he was being attacked by all those people?
When Orca, whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah.
Gang Orca was there.
Gay Orca?
Gang Orca.
Yeah.
And him and that one guy were like the smiley guy that likes everybody except for Todoroki.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They both failed because they both were selfish.
Yeah, that's true. But whatever. I'm not saying like that guy isn't a part of their crew. I'm talking about like when he's with their class. Class what are they? 3A? 1A? I don't remember what class they are. 1A.
Do you even watch the show?
It's been a long time since I've watched 1A, right?
Yes.
All right. I knew I'd get there eventually. But
3A, they're not third years.
yeah, I know. That's what I got at. I knew I messed up there. But yeah, so I'm just talking about when he's with his class. I don't know what's going on up there, but
well,
that's the end of just over an hour.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that went pretty well.
Better than expected.
Right, for how unenthusiastic you were about doing this.
Yes.
Well, I better go check out the dogs because I have no idea what they're barking at. But we will see you in the next interview, which I believe Kat is interviewing moi. So you will get to learn all the juicy details on Slay. But this was Bob, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Right.
Bye.
See ya.